Nobody in our prisons is getting due process. Some of them have been robbed more blatantly than others, but the whole prison system in the USA needs to go down. Jeff Winehouse, they're abusing him in the prison. Schaefer Cox, same there. Leonard Peltier, many people from Bundy Ranch, from Oregon, still sitting in prisons. But there's another one that you may not have heard of, and I wanted to bring attention, and that is the David Diaz case. And I'll actually show you, this was quite a while ago, so it's not like there's a video or anything of what happened. But David Diaz was 19 years old when he was sentenced to 37 to life in prison for shooting someone in the leg. Now, first of all, imagine someone sitting for the rest of their life in a box because they shot someone in the leg. The victim isn't dead, and if you really committed the crime, how about pay restitution, right? However, David Diaz didn't commit the crime. And it's not simply a case of he asserts his innocence. Now, David is 39 years old now. He's been in prison for 20 years. He's been locked in a box by the state of California Blue ISIS psychopaths for 20 years. All right. Now, this is a reminder that this isn't new. It's getting worse. The USA is going down fast, but this isn't new. This goes back to Waco, Ruby Ridge. It goes back to how we treated the natives. It goes back to slavery. It goes back to the Civil War. It goes back to arrogance, egotism, and people wanting freedom for them, but not for anyone else. Now, David Diaz didn't shoot this man. And how do we know that? Well, we know that because the victim that was shot has actually made testimony that David Diaz did not shoot him. And yet this psychopathic justice system has kept David Diaz in prison for 20 years. Why? Because the system doesn't care about justice. The system cares about for-profit prisons and winning. And yeah, we got people, news now, we got people serving years, even life in prison for having the wrong gun in the wrong place, or the disallowed kind of bullets, even though all those laws are completely unconstitutional. And people say, oh, we have freedom. You don't have freedom. You have a prison system that will lock you away arbitrarily. Now, here is an actual petition, a letter of support from the victim to pardon David Diaz, all right? And he's saying here, right? He's saying, this is Ramberto Preciado, and he says flat out, I have always maintained that David is innocent at every stage in David's court, appellate and habeas proceedings, okay? I even informed the Univision news reporter, bear in mind, a lot of this was 20 years ago, through a written letter that David is innocent and a victim of the Los Angeles County courts. And that article was published in 2017. So a lot of this is coming to light more recently. This man has sat in prison for 20 freaking years. So not only has the victim come out, the man that was shot in the leg that a person got life in prison for has come out and said, no, he's not the one that shot me. Not only that, the key witness confessed to randomly accusing David because of police pressure. See, Blue ISIS doesn't care about enforcing the law. They're terrorists. They're a cartel that's there to maintain their power, which they do through fear and winning, so they can tell all the good little slaves that worship them, oh, look, we're keeping you safe. The crime committed here was the one against David Diaz. And so you can actually go, and I will link this, what I was showing you on the screen is a petition that has lots of signatures to release David Diaz. But it just goes to show you, I mean, it does seem to be bringing, now there's more people talking about this case, there's more people hearing about it, but I want you guys to understand, 20 years it took, and people are finally starting to talk about this. Do you have any grasp on how many people, their lives have literally been stolen from them, and right here and now they're sitting in a concrete cage, having never been given due process and never committed a crime? You see, no one in the prisons has been given lawful due process under the rights of due process in frankly, probably decades. That means all of them have to still be assumed innocent. This isn't an isolated case. And so I try to bring light to these cases for you guys so you can spread the message, so you can support these people, so you can speak out, so you can pick up the phone. I try to spread the message and give a voice to these prisoners. But you have to understand that for everyone I can give a voice to, there's 100,000 more that no one's speaking for that I've never even heard about. And it's heartbreaking. The USA is a slave nation. It's a fascist nation. It's a terrorist nation. We imprison more people than any other nation on the planet. It's psychotic. And it's time to stop it. It's time to speak out. It's time to love our neighbor. It's time to stop just caring about ourselves and start putting ourselves on the line, to start resisting these police. See, people say, well, there's a lot of good cops. I support them. If there was a lot of good cops, and if there was a lot of oath-keeping soldiers and veterans, they would be down at prisons, tearing down the gates to free men like David Diaz and Jeff Winehouse and Leonard Peltier and Schaefer Cox and the countless others. They would be tearing down the walls to get to them and to arrest their kidnappers. That's what good cops will be doing. We don't have good cops. We have cops that are filling the prisons. We have cops that have been given guns and power and authority and that choose to only use it to enforce the rule of fascism. And then we have cops that we call good cops. And those are the ones that don't actually shoot us in the head. They just stand back and look on and kind of shake their heads a little sadly, but refuse to do anything because they want a paycheck. Blue ISIS is a cartel of prostitutes and terrorists. And it's time to start treating them like that. And so as the trolls come in and people say, well, you know, you have to worship the state. You're a liar for speaking the truth. You know, how dare you talk about freedom? Everybody needs to do what they're told. You deserve this if you don't obey the police. I'm here to tell you, don't obey the police. Reject, refuse, resist, stand up, do it with honor, do it with principle. But the police are terrorists, and it's time that the nation started seeing them and regarding them as such, and that the world started speaking out against the USA as the terrorist nation it is, instead of letting them dip their fingers into everything and manipulate just like they do constantly down here in Latin America, as they disrupt the governments of whole countries to destabilize them so that they can use propaganda to lure those people to the United States, to keep Latin America looking broken and beaten down and weak so that they can get cheap labor and then lure people to the United States to enslave them when they cross the border under fake, illegal, and unconstitutional immigration laws so that they can fill prisons, they can traffic the children. This is your country. This is the USA. And I escaped the USA so that I could keep telling you the truth about her, so that I could keep taking care of my family and keep living myself, so that I could be a little bit out of the reach of these psychopaths that were trying to lock me into a concentration camp. Because I'm not just going to sit down and live as a slave. So guys, I want you to speak for David Diaz. I want you to speak for Jeff Winehouse and start speaking for the prisoners that you know. Start being awake. You can't support the prison system and Blue ISIS and the administration and the fascist government at all. You have to oppose them completely if you're going to defend freedom. We've got to stop doing it halfway and start standing up and speaking out. I'm going to throw some links down here for you guys so we can keep the pressure on for David Diaz and other prisoners after this video uploads. And thank you all for joining me. I'm gonna wrap it up because this is my second live stream for the night. I already did the private live stream over there for our Patreon supporters. If you guys want to get in on the stuff going on the Patreon and help support this channel, just head over to patreon.com/Gavin Syme and join us over there. All right, you guys, speak out, love your neighbor, resist, stand. Have a good weekend, and stay out of the hands of Blue ISIS.